What's going on, y'all? It's BigKean. And first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for those 29,000 views on my martial law video. To be quite honest, I never thought that video was going to get that many hits, man. So I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the just the different words and just everyone that had a curiosity about whether martial law was going to take place in Chicago or not back when I recorded that. And this here is the follow-up video to it. And man, so much has transpired since then that there is a lot to talk about. And once again, I just want to show my appreciation for everyone that talked to me, tried to build with me, left some comments, emails, different things, and is actually a precursor to a lot of big things that's going to be happening with this channel, and you're going to see the gradual changes that happen. But yeah, here we are in 2019. We made it. Well, most of us anyway. And in the city right now, man, in all actuality, homicides have dropped. They never called in the National Guard. They never instituted martial law in Chicago because it wasn't necessary. What has happened is that lately you've seen a rise in community activism and different people doing different things, trying to stand in the gap for a lot of these people in the streets who have maybe had to take in the street life just to feed their families. And the gang activity is still relatively low, but then again, it might be because we probably had one of the colder winter seasons in the past 5 years that we've had in Chicago, because our winters have been relatively mild up here for the past 5 years. So, normally when it's warm out, that's when everybody starts beefing. That's when all of the shootouts and different things happen. And honestly, the last few days have been no different. You're seeing an uptick in homicides. But but yeah, they never instituted martial law. But what they did do in response is that the FBI started working more closely with Chicago PD. At the same time that Chicago PD was being investigated by their own independent police review board and also by the federal government for corruption. Now, normally these things, they're forever getting into the department and trying to, see what's going on within the department. But really, a lot of time, nothing really happens. These things have been going on since I was young, and we still had Project High Rises within the city. So if anything comes out of it, it'll be very shocking. The most police activity that I've seen lately has been with the Me Too movement, with Jussie Smollett and R. Kelly. And also with the Jason Van Dyke situation with the Laquan McDonald shooting. Tragic shooting. Which, that narrative, to tell you the honest to God truth, man, that narrative is very typical. Chicago PD picking up a kid off the streets, whether he was in a gang or not, taking him to a neighborhood in which he's not native to, and then dropping him off. Normally when they do that with the intent of having rivals chase these guys down and gun them down in the streets. And this has been happening in Chicago since I was alive, since the 80s. And Laquan, that's really what was behind the Laquan McDonald situation. But Laquan, in his own way, come to find out, fought back and started slashing tires, which wound up proving to be a fatal move that sealed his fate, as Jason Van Dyke shot him down in cold blood as he was walking away. If you look at the video, Laquan McDonald was walking away from the police activity when he was walking. And Jason Van Dyke just, you see him on the video plain as day, up his weapon and put 16 shots into him. Little voice in my head told me as I watched that video, that gruesome video, that he was dead before he hit the ground. I believe it. I believe that the kill shot was fired by the second shot, because it seemed that Jason Van Dyke, it seemed like just had intent to kill rather than to maim just to be able to arrest him. That use of excessive force should honestly be outlawed, and that cops should be taught to not use excessive force unless absolutely necessary. And in that case, plain as day on video, it wasn't. It wasn't necessary. So as a result, he got 6 years and some change, which honestly, in my eyes, I felt that should be left up to question, because I felt like he should have at least got a year for each shot fired, especially if you're going to convict other people for nonviolent crimes, usually Black Americans, and give them the stiffest sentences possible. This guy only got 6 years for murdering a young man in cold blood. Whether or not he was an aggressor, that's left up to question. Whether Laquan was an aggressor in the situation, that can be left up to question, because that's not what we saw on video. But as a result of basically karma taking its course, if you would, Mr. Van Dyke has been moved to a medium security prison in New York. You know, I'm not here to convict cops, because to be quite honest, you know, I'm a church going man, and I have members of my church that are state troopers and are police. And these are wonderful individuals. You know, that's just their job. And from what I draw from them is that normally when they make a decision such as that, such as a life-changing decision, such as what Mr. Van Dyke made, you know, I'm pretty sure that they're weighing every single option in their head before they do it. You know, and the thing is, man, you know, the tension in this country right now, just off of the racial violence and everything, and with this Trump situation with that border wall, it's just insane, man. It's you know, the only time that I've ever seen tension like this was when I was a young boy growing up in the Chicago Lawn area of Chicago, where Marquette Park resides, which is a notorious park where a lot of prejudiced European Americans lived. Those times in the late 80s, early 90s was when I experienced the most racism personally in my life. But throughout my life, there's been incidents as well. Now, as far as martial law, we seem far off from that now. Because if you've been keeping up with statistics, homicide rates have been dropping steadily. Police and the FBI have been concentrating on basically arresting these straw buyers and these gun suppliers on the streets, whereas, just recently they started getting back to making drug busts, because I guess a certain quota of guns that were taken off of the streets, they must have met that quota already. Because up until this point, mostly they've been focusing on the guns and doing gun buyback programs and, other things that generally to get these guns off the streets. So, as a result, gun violence has dropped significantly. But what is seeing an uptick is basically strong arm robberies, car thefts, um, different things of that nature, man. People out here, either they are, you know, pretty bad, living pretty bad, and, you know, their situation is dire, or in some cases, they just plain don't want to work. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. You got certain people that just honestly aren't into the 9 to 5 lifestyle, aren't into that slow money. So, you know, I'd be doing myself a disservice by not basically putting that on the table, because that does exist. But as far as the homicide rates, they dropped, but we're seeing a little uptick now in Chicago, and we seem a ways off from martial law. I still wouldn't have agreed to martial law had they put that through. I wouldn't have agreed to that at all, because you have so many community activists and other people that are out here standing in the gap and are really trying to institute programs that the government basically cut funding for to get a lot of these people off the streets now. So if I were the local, the state and federal government, I would more or less concentrate on that. But right now we're in an administration that's all about small government. So at the end of the day, it's going to be pretty much left up to people like me and you, anyone watching this video that really genuinely has a heart for their community. It's going to be left up to us, man. And like I said before, I've been doing my part in my own way, but I'm only one person. If each and every one can just pitch in some kind of way, in their own little way, to steer people away from these things, to steer the youth away from street violence and drug dealing, I encourage you to do so. Because at the end of the day, we live in a time where the service economy is very strong and is really gaining traction. And they're going to need people with trade certifications in a variety of fields, including technology, to basically close this employment gap, man. Now, I've been working with some brothers on that, and we're really, like I said, in our own little space, we're trying to do something of that nature, have certain classes at different places for trade certifications to get some of these brothers into making this legit money that, you know, honestly can feed their family for decades. You know, might take a little elbow grease, but at the same time, none of us been afraid of a little hard work. Not at all. I come from a family of steel mill workers and entrepreneurs, so, you know, it's kind of our birthright. But once again, this is BigKean. I appreciate you guys for all the views. Please, if you have any comments, positive comments only, please. If you have comments and different things, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll holler.